was talking to one of my bosses yesterday about his process for baking sourdough bread because he was wanting his to have larger holes in it. So we kind of compared notes on how he makes bread at home and how I make bread here. So I figured while I'm scoring bread, I would walk you guys through exactly how I make these loaves and see if it's super different from the way that you do it. So typically, this bread takes 3 days to make. I will feed my normal starter the night before I need to make bread. Actually, first day feeding the starter. So in the morning I get to work. I feed the little starter, which I just have all the time. It's an all quart container. By the end of my shift, it has risen enough to be used in the levain, which goes into this the next day. And then the next morning when I get to work and the levain is ready, it goes into the mixer with the flour, the water, and the levain. That sits for 45 minutes, it does an auto-lease, and then I add the salt for a couple minutes, mix it, put it in the bins, start folding it. It gets 4 sets of folds every half hour. After the 4th fold, it gets an hour of rising time, and then it gets the pre-shape. I shape them into essentially just circular loaves. They go on boards that look a lot like this peel right here. They sit for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, really. It just depends how cold it is outside. If it's raining, they'll kind of smush out a little bit faster. And all I'm looking for is for them to look ready, which is what I told my manager yesterday. And he was like, "What do you mean by look ready?" I was like, "Well, it just kind of comes with doing it for forever. I know that when they get a certain amount of sploosh, they're ready to be final shaped." So then I will do the final shape. They go into these Vanatones in the fridge overnight, immediately into the fridge. And then the next morning I do what I'm doing right now and bake them. And his process was slightly different. He doesn't do a pre-shape. He auto-leases without the levain in the final dough until he puts the salt in, and then he adds the salt and the levain. So it's just kind of interesting to talk to someone who makes bread at home and see how different our processes are. I'd be really curious to know what your guys' processes are when you are making bread. If you work in a bread bakery, I feel like every single bread bakery I've ever worked in does everything differently. So I've made essentially the same loaf probably 5, 6 different ways by now, just over the course of my career. And it comes out the same way pretty much every time. It's just everybody does it differently. So how do you make bread?